Alright guys, so in this module we're going to be talking about cosigners. What is a cosigner, how it can actually impact you, and what kind of help they can bring to an application. And the most important question I get quite a bit is how to remove a cosigner off an application. So let's start off by talking about what is a cosigner. So a cosigner is someone that is bringing something to your application, something that you're kind of missing, right? So like you have an application, you put it together, but maybe it's not 100% where it needs to be. Right? For example, it could be income. Let's say you're looking at a certain price point. Now everything is looking good, but your income's slightly not there to get you into the threshold of what you're looking at buying. You might be maybe 1, 2, maybe as much as 10, 15, 20% away. So a cosigner is going to come and help bridge the gap, technically what you're missing. It could be credit issues. Let's say the income's perfect, but your credit's not really there, right? Your credit's a little bit lacking where it needs to be. It's maybe around 600 or maybe a little bit higher than that. So a cosigner with good credit can come back and bridge that gap. So technically a cosigner is just adding more structure, it's adding more support to an application to make the lender, the bank, the mortgage company, the default insurance company like CMHC more comfortable, right? And ideally, sometimes cosigners can be there for a long time period, sometimes they can be there temporary. So who can be a cosigner? What do the banks look for as a cosigner? So we consider cosigner someone who's going to be a close family member, ideally not a friend, right? Banks want to know, like, if someone is cosigning, what is the relationship and why would someone do that, all right? So it makes sense for a family to help other family out. So they kind of want it to be maybe a close family member or a family member. And ideally, a cosigner should be someone that's actually adding to your application, right? So someone that has really good credit, has low debts, has good income. I've had a scenario where a client was looking for a cosigner, and ideally he found 3, but they were all not the best cosigners. They were actually hurting his application more than they were helping it. And then you would ask, how can a cosigner hurt an application instead of helping one? Well, when a cosigner comes onto an application, they bring whatever they have with them as well. So for example, if they have existing debt, they will bring that onto the application. Now, some of that debt is going to go on top of the person who's a primary applicant, right? So that could be you. So if you're bringing a cosigner that has debt, now that debt is going to be weighing you down as well, which will be affecting the application, right? So this individual brought 3 different cosigners and they were all bringing more debt than he was, and it wasn't a good scenario till we had to find him a cosigner that was ideal, right? So maybe that's the first thing, is have an open discussion with the cosigner to see what they have, what it entails to be a cosigner. A lot of people don't understand that. They go into cosigning something not realizing that they are now just tied to the mortgage as much as the primary applicant is. And it's something that's a very big concern for some people, right? That could affect their future borrowings. They could affect any future plans that they might have for home purchases or car purchases, whatever it might be. So usually what happens with the cosigner is when they apply to be on a mortgage, they are co-borrowing with you, right? So that's the word co-signing means, that you're co-signing a mortgage. You are just as responsible for that debt as the primary is, but you also go on title, right? So you go on title, you become a co-owner of the home as well, something the primary sometimes don't realize as well. Now you've shared your home with someone else who are equally owners and responsible, right? So there's 2 things that come with it. So you take on the debt, but you also take on the asset or the home, right? So very, very important stuff to realize. A lot of stuff we get questions like, how do I remove a cosigner? So when we talked about earlier is that a cosigner is bringing something that you're missing, right? So now to remove that cosigner, you have to replace what they brought into the application, right? So it's not a timely thing. I've had clients come to me and say, listen, I made payments on this mortgage for a year. Can I remove that cosigner? And I'll sit down and I'll ask them, well, has your situation changed, right? Last time we were missing income. Has that gone up? Last time we were having some credit issues. Have you fixed that? And sometimes they'll say no. But I'm saying, well, it's not a timely thing. You haven't fixed the issues we had from the get-go. You can't remove a cosigner, right? Because anytime you remove a cosigner, we do something called a reassignment, right? So you go through a reapplication process. It's not as lengthy as the first time around, but it's just to kind of see if your situation has changed. Now you can assume the mortgage onto yourself to remove the cosigner. And if your income has gone up and your credit's gone up and like your situation has improved enough to remove the cosigner, then we can remove the cosigner at that time. So those are the ways of getting a cosigner and then adding a cosigner and then removing a cosigner.